Well, we've been telling you about how Cliven Bundy won't give up against the government. That seems heroic to some people in this country, but he does it with weaponry, and he shows up with his friends and loaded guns. And he says that he wants his cattle back, and the government gave him his cattle back. His cattle, of course, had been grazing on federal government property and not paying a fee. If you don't pay your taxes or you don't pay a fee to the government, trust me that you're going to get arrested. When these guys don't want to get arrested or don't want to pay that fine, they just show up with weapons. But that's not all. One of the guys in that group is former Sheriff Richard Mack. And he had a brilliant idea for what to do if the federal government used force if these guys started an altercation. Now remember, in this case, the cattle is on government property. So the government has all the right in the world to take the cattle and to hold it. Like if I put my stuff on your property, would you have the right to my stuff? Of course, I put it on your property, right? So if I show up with a gun and say, how dare you take the stuff that I put on your property? You'd say, hey, wait a minute, buddy. I mean, you've been keeping it here for 20 years, as Cliven Bundy did. Can you give me a storage fee? You would be in the right. I would be in the wrong because I showed up with a weapon and I never paid you for putting stuff in your garage for 20 years. Okay, that's in essence what we have here. But that's not how Sheriff Richard, or former Sheriff Richard Mack, sees it. He thinks that the government is in the wrong, and that if they try to counter the weapons that these militia members, et cetera, brought, well, he's got a great plan for how to defeat them in the battlefield of propaganda. We were actually strategizing, he says, to put all the women up at the front. If they're going to start shooting, it's going to be the women that are going to be televised all across the world getting shot by these rogue federal officers. Now, first of all, they're not the ones who are rogue. You're the ones who are rogue. You're not following the law. You're not following court orders. Second of all, I don't see how you're in the right when you say, hey, let's let our women get shot first. Maybe you think it's out of context, so let me give you more context. He explains, it was a tactical plot that I was trying to get them to use. If they're going to start killing people, I'm sorry, but to show the world how ruthless these people are, women needed to be the first ones shot. Wait, let me understand who's the ruthless one. Is it the government or is it you saying the women need to be shot first? That would appear to be you. And you're doing it on purpose. You remember when Osama bin Laden was shot and Navy SEAL Team 6 showed up? At first they put a great piece of propaganda out there that Osama had hid behind one of his wives. I called BS on that immediately. Not because bin Laden's a good guy, he's a terrible guy, right? And I'm glad they got him. But that's the kind of stuff they always put out there to make somebody seem like a coward. And of course, we found out later, in fact, that he had not hidden himself behind one of the women at the compound. In this case, we have the right-wing guys saying, yeah, that's our plan. He goes further. He says, I'm sorry, that sounds horrible. Well, you're right about that. I would have put my own wife and daughters there, and I would have been screaming bloody murder to watch them die. I would have gone next. I would have been the next one to be killed. I'm not afraid to die here. I'm willing to die here. So I love this guy's strategy. First, kill my kids, as long as they're daughters, and my wife, and then I'll scream bloody murder about that. I can't believe they killed my wife and daughter. I can't believe it. And then after all of that, and I got the good propaganda out of it, because I put them there to die before me, well, then if I had to go next, I mean, sure, I'd be willing to die too. Well, I would say the same thing I say to the Islamic jihadist terrorist, which is, hey, if you're training someone how to put on a suicide vest, why don't you try it on first? And finally, because he can't let this go, he also said, but the best ploy would be to have had women at the front. Because one, I don't think they would have shot them. And two, if they had, it would have been the worst thing that could have been shown to the rest of the world, that these ruthless cowards hired by the federal government will do anything. Remind me again who the coward is as you hide behind your wife and daughter.